Mr. Harley Ryder, you've been getting a lot of attention lately as an important voice, and why do you say that is?
Well, Pamela, first of all, you can call me Harley.
Okay.
And I think we're in a climate that politically and socially that people are, and financially for many families, people are uncertain. They see the state of the economy. They see the state of America. Values have plummeted. Schools have tremendous issues just across the board. So people are looking for others to say something because one, they're afraid to say something. Two, they find themselves in a position that they haven't gotten involved. And by lack of involvement, bad things happen, or at least not good things. So everyone is looking for someone to step up and say something. And I'm just one of those people that will step up and say something. But it's just not me. We need a lot of individuals, from the school boards, to the political structures, to your job at work, and saying things that are logic-based, using your intelligence and your wisdom.
Who is Harley Ryder, and how would you describe him?
Well, Harley Ryder is me. I'd say, I'm everything from the beach boy to the country boy and everything in between. You throw in a little bit of rock and roll, and you've got kind of the foundation. But he's Christian. He's got values. He's conservative, but he also looks at all sides of people's views. Not Republican or just not Democrat, and even independent, but what makes sense for people, how they live, and the foundation of that, everybody deserves a certain level of happiness, consideration, and respect, amongst a lot of other things.
But what makes Harley Ryder different? I'm talking about you now. I know it's been said you have a really big heart and you worry about other people. In other words, why do average Americans stop and listen to you?
I think they hear a voice, and in that voice and in that, how I deliver what I'm saying, a little bit of intelligence. Sometimes it's not all that intelligent. It's quirky, it's a little strange, but it's disarming. And there's a level of care, there's a level of comfort, and it's someone that you can sit down and talk to and not feel you're going to be judged by your opinions. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people see. And they see, me laughing at myself and not taking myself serious. And when they see that, they become comfortable. Because a guy that will sit there and tell you his negatives over the positives, they like that because we all have the negatives. So.
Right. Why do you feel your show inspires people? What are you inspiring everyday Americans to do?
Get involved and take the time and look. And if you see something, say something. That's a big thing that's going around, has been going around. But in life, if you look into things, it could be your children's school, their teachers, your work environment. It's just all you need to be more, or we need, including me, more observant of our surroundings and who and what we are and how we treat people. And if you step in front of somebody, do you say, offer an apology or ask, or say, excuse me? There's certain etiquette and there's certain way that, in respect of other people, that you can act. And I feel that's important.
Okay. Now you've described yourself, you just did, as part country, part beach boy, and everything in between. But where are you from originally?
Originally, well, I do hail from the mid Oklahoma. Can't say I stayed there long, and then traveled up to the East Coast, and then ended up in sunny Southern California, where spent a tremendous amount of time at the beach, enjoying God's beautiful ocean. And let me tell you, in that ocean, there's a serenity that once you tap into it, it it just reminds you every day that you're in the presence of something greater. And spiritually, my belief in God and my walk with God impacts me every day. In fact, as I grow, more each day, I find different ways that it shapes me, and it also gives me a moral compass where, when a person asks me something, you can say something that may not be always truthful, but when you have someone that's looking, at what you do and how you do it, you want to get it right. Not to say I'll always get things right, but I look to be as factual as I possibly can, truthful. And, sometimes that's not easy because you can hurt a person's feelings. But if you do it in a way that you're doing your best just to explain who you are and what you are, I think people can understand that.
How do you think the average American is suffering under this current administration, and what do you hope for the lives of the average American? Why do you feel your show inspires people? What are you inspiring everyday Americans to do?
Get involved and take the time and look. And if you see something, say something. That's a big thing that's going around, has been going around. But in life, if you look into things, it could be your children's school, their teachers, your work environment. It's just all you need to be more, or we need, including me, more observant of our surroundings and who and what we are and how we treat people. And if you step in front of somebody, do you say, offer an apology or ask, or say, excuse me? There's certain etiquette and there's certain way that in respect of other people, that you can act. And I feel that's important.
Okay. Now you've described yourself, you just did, as part country, part beach boy, and everything in between, but where are you from originally?
Originally, well, I do hail from, the mid-Oklahoma. Can't say I stayed there long, and then traveled up to the East Coast, and then ended up in sunny Southern California, where spent a tremendous amount of time at the beach, enjoying God's beautiful ocean. And let me tell you, in that ocean, there's a serenity that once you tap into it, it just reminds you every day that you're in the presence of something greater. And spiritually, my belief in God and my walk with God impacts me every day. In fact, as I grow, more each day, I find different ways that it shapes me, and it also gives me a moral compass where, when a person asks me something, you can say something that may not be always truthful, but when you have someone that's looking, at what you do and how you do it, you want to get it right. Not to say I'll always get things right, but I look to be as factual as I possibly can, truthful. And, sometimes that's not easy because you can hurt a person's feelings. But if you do it in a way that you're doing your best just to explain who you are and what you are, I think people can understand that.
You're living in California, and what do you think the biggest thing is that the rest of the country is missing about California?
That we've got it all wrong? No. That Californians, I've heard it quite a few times, hey, it's California. They get what they deserve, and they're absolutely right. But there are a lot of people that, don't deserve what we're getting. And we just have the inability to make a difference. We do make stands, but, by and large, we lose. But that's no different than the rest of the conservative country, that has been, on the short end of the stick, fairly regularly in what they want, how they want to live their lives, the freedoms they want, and basically not being told how you have to live and what you have to do. Or, for the most part, conservatives are independent. They respect other people, but they want to live their life the way they want to live it in a society that understands that, and they abide by laws that make, everyone get along.
And what concerns you most about the state of California and the direction it's going in?
Well, the state of California is a very powerful entity in itself. It's somewhere to like the eighth, largest GDP in the world. Don't quote me on that, but it's up there. It's a one-party state. It's heavily Democratic. There are some Republican areas that exist. Orange County, Irvine, other places, and then you've got pockets of conservatism throughout California. But in many ways, people are conservative, but they've also bought into, a social framework that anything can go. We have a lot of problems, a tremendous amount of problems, and and we've not been able to solve them. Our leaders have certain agendas, and they are, dealing with that in regards to their base, to, the people that help get them elected. So, and it's not always people positive. And again, we have a lot of issues that other states don't.
Okay. How would you describe your show politically? I mean, you really come down on Democrats and their hypocrisy, but you've also been known to come down on Republicans. Why?
Because again, I'm more of I'm a conservative centrist. So whenever I see, whether it's a Republican side, an independent or a Democratic side, or just someone that has no party affiliation, but looks at things very differently that don't fit, into what a true just society is, then I want to speak on it. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, and it creates a lot of issues that people have to deal with and hardships.
You regularly come down on the Biden administration. What do you feel is their biggest failure?
Their failure, well, depends how you look at it. As on the Democratic side, they've not been a failure. They are, pandering to their base, and they're doing a very good job. The unions, the Green Deal, the society at large that they believe in they're doing well. I mean, it's affected the rest of the country, but
Positively or negatively?
well, if you look at inflation, you look at everything that people are going through, the hardships that exist in America, and we're in kind of an area that things are getting bad. Will they get worse? Certain economists say they are. We have things on the horizon that, and I don't want to, I don't know if that's going to come to pass, but they are saying, we're looking into a recession. Is that true? Potentially, yes. But, and that is affecting people, and it'll start to affect more and more people.
Okay. What's your true position on illegal immigration, and why do you feel this way?
Well, my position on immigration ties into a few other things. If you believe in the Green Deal, if you believe in climate change, the one prevailing factor that you have is, when I think where the Democratic Party, the Biden agenda, has missed it. They know it, but they've not, they just somehow let it slip through their fingers, on purpose or accidentally, is immigration. If you want to address global warming, you have to address the people in your society. In America, we're very affluent. So we produce per individual a lot more, of a carbon footprint than other countries do. So if you spend billions of dollars to address climate change, but you let 6-7 million immigrants come into the country who now will be producing, a larger carbon footprint for America, then you've negated, what you tried to do. You spend a lot of money, and a lot of sacrifices with people, but it's all for naught. You cannot, if you truly are concerned about global warming, you cannot let the amount of immigrants come in to America.
What's the big picture you see for illegal immigration? What's the solution?
Well, the solution, is you, like every other country, you have a wall, you have a border, you define who gets in and why. And now you have to completely acknowledge we can only let in so many people because of global warming. Because as a very prosperous country, we take individuals and we triple the amount of the carbon footprint, say Honduras or Latin American countries are producing. So we are itself exacerbating the death march of a nation with global warming. And if you look at AOC, she has said the planet has 12 years, and she may be right, she may be wrong, but if you keep pouring people into America, we continue to just increase the carbon footprint, which negates global warming, which will end our planet, according to AOC, a lot sooner than we want to. And
what's your position on global warming? What's your true position?
People have given me flack over it. I think, logically, you have to take it and say, okay, temperatures have gone up. Things have happened with our climates, our atmosphere, everything from floods to tornadoes. So when you have that, and we are, the world's population has increased. We have a greater, carbon footprint. So I'm going to err on the side of I believe it is global warming. What impact it has and what degree, I'm not sure. But I would rather be cautious and address it, and to at least make an impact and not, because the planet is heating up in different areas, and it is causing difficulties with sustainable population. And we have to look at that. We have to look at being good stewards. If anything, you have to look at good stewards for the planet. And I think when you look at that, then you have to realize we pollute. And if we're polluting, just take that on its surface. If you have pollution, what are you doing to counter it? Pollution comes in all sorts of avenues and ways, as far as plastic, obviously carbon footprints, methane gases. You can go just different things in general. So,
but many Republicans don't believe there's global warming at all. What do you say to them?
I disagree with them, and they have a position. I have a position, and they may be 100% right. I may be wrong, but again, I'd rather err on the side of having a little bit of common sense and saying, okay, is it good to have the country in triple digits for extended periods of time, and look at it. You have to. It is a form of pollution, and whatever we can do to address pollution is, I feel, important.
Okay,
but
I'd like to go ahead.
But that's just my position. I'm not a politician. And
that's something I was going to ask you about. Are you thinking of running for office, or are you an actor?
Well, Pamela, that's a very good question. Okay, no, I'm not looking for a political venture, moving into that arena. I feel there's a lot of corruption in politics, tremendous, but I also feel there's corruption in every aspect of life. And that's what I want to start putting the focus on with other people, getting on board and doing what they do and looking at what is truth, what is I call it truth, justice, in the American way. And if you live that way and you respect people, no matter what color they are, what religion they have, you make a better society, and respectful. I think that's really my position is. So I'm not looking for to become a politician, nor am I acting this out as it would be for an actor. This is truthful from my heart with a drive that seeks to make, shed the light on the corruption that we see in everyday life, politics, and the government.
Okay, now
I think I did answer that a little bit earlier when you asked me, who Harley Ryder was. But
how is Harley Ryder different than this character, the West Coast press secretary?
well, the West Coast press secretary, I guess honestly you could say I generated this based on what I saw, on the White House press secretary. There's a lot of judgments toward her, with her, and
Who are we talking about here?
Karine Jean-Pierre. And I might have been right there with them until I realized, when you start looking closer at things, that many people think she's the worst press secretary ever. I might have thought that for a bit until I started realizing, no, she's actually the best, because she is changing a narrative. She is countering opposition. And that's no easy feat in front of a camera, in front of reporters, in front of society, to change the direction of a story, of a narrative, because there are some things that have happened in administration that you just can't explain away. She's been able to diffuse them. So in actuality, she is doing an exceptional job, which I'm sure people would think I'm nuts for saying that. But if you really look close, she's got an impossible job. And you may think she's doing an impossible job with how she handles it, but she gets in, deals with, however she does, deals with the reporters and the public, gets out of there. And if you notice, nothing's sticking with this administration. Bad things, just seem to be able to go away. And she is one of their, defenders of what goes on. And that's no easy feat. So I have a lot of respect for her in how she does it. I may not agree with her and what she's defending, but I do realize she's got an impossible job to defend, some of the things that go on, but she does it, and people can say that's successful or unsuccessful, but I look at it, she's diffused the situation to a certain degree, and as best as anyone could.
What do you feel is Mr. Press Secretary's biggest purpose then?
I think that's to look at what goes on in our daily lives, bring a certain, vision to it, light to it, focus to it, and create discussion with it. And at the same time, find what might be humorous about this. And sometimes it's going to be very sad. And sometimes it's going to be the ugly truth. And other times, it's going to be like, with a person writing in with an email, it's going to be, what were they thinking when they wrote this? But it's the American voice. And I'm representing we the people with what they have to say. Now, some of it may not be what I would say, but I want to respectfully bring it to everyone that listens, to what the press secretary has to say. And similar to the East Coast, we'll do a lot that's similar, but I hope we take a different tact, and we always approach it with truth and honesty, and if it makes sense.
And what do you hope the character of Mr. Press Secretary will expose in America?
I hope it exposes our individuality, where we need to not bury our head in the sand. We need to take what's being told us, analyze it, understand it. This may take some work because we're all overworked, we're tired, and then, at the end of the day, we don't want to deal with this. But As I say, if you're not dealing with this, one day it will deal with you. You take our deficits, 32 trillion. Every taxpayer owes about 249,000 of that. That is what you owe. There's no way around it. You're one day going to pay that. Now, politicians may kick that can down the road, to your children, but we're getting closer to where 32 trillion, just servicing the debt is becoming very difficult. It takes about a third of our, tax dollars to pay that.
What do you feel is America's most serious issue of all?
Corruption in government, disinformation, and the lack of truly acknowledging what is the truth and living by a biased and what we each think is truth being told to us and not exploring to find the real truth.
Okay, if the current party stays in office after 2024, what do you see for our country's future? How will that look?
Well, I'm not a prognosticator, nor, am I a visionary that can see into the future. But if we continue, if everything stays the same, nothing is going to change. We will have inflation. We will more likely, as they say, go into a recession. Just interest rates are going to keep going up. So it will be a very difficult time for Americans. We will continue to go down the path that we've had and with no end in sight. Because right now the policy is to spend and just tack it on to the debt, which is most people should know if you took any type of economics in school. You eventually the debt you rack up, you're going to have to pay, and it's going to consume every dollar you've got to do it. And then living is nothing but hard.
Gotcha. What do you think the average American is missing, and what are they not seeing that Harley Ryder wants them to see?
I'm not sure what the average American is missing. I just know that from my perspective, what I've seen, what I've heard, as far as I think our foundation for this country, we've had a certain level of religion in our life. And that also gave us a certain level of morality. A lot of that's gone away for everything, counter to that. I think how we live in our communities, it shows. And depending, you can pick certain communities and they have no issue. But a vast amount of communities, have crime, have social issues, have homeless issues, have mental health, have poor education. That is never good for society unless you are willing to do the hard work and look at it and find out what are the causes and make the changes. We're just going to repeat ourselves. History has a way of repeating. Hitler, in 1930, when he came to power, utilized a lot of the tactics that you can see being utilized around the world currently. And you would think, that would never, ever happen again. But there are some signs that say, yeah, and it's just people in general, it takes a lot for them to change. And they tend to fall back into very bad habits, which creates society that is not what it should be.
How do you think the average American is suffering under this current administration?
Well, obviously, most that are suffering, it's going to be financially. And when you have financial issues, there's emotional component. There's just putting food on the table. If you have children, clothing them, every aspect, that we need, from food to clothing to fuel in our automobiles, to a car payment, to a rent or mortgage payment, all those have skyrocketed. So it's very difficult, a lot of internal pressure, a lot of stress on the average American, and they don't know what to do. And some people have 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Others are getting assistance. So people are finding ways to try to get through it, but there is a breaking point, and a lot of people eventually may reach that sooner than we think.
Okay. How much do you love this country, and what do you feel it's given to you?
Well, this is the greatest country in the world, and I know that plenty of people say not, and I would be happy to find government money to send you to where you think you would be much happier. But everything I've heard, everything I've read, everyone that has talked, this still is the one country you can explore your dreams and find a very happy life. And that is all summed up about what you believe is your happiness. So that's what I say to that.
If the Harley Ryder show continues to be a success, what do you hope to do personally with the platform it gives you?
Make changes in society, offer different solutions. And obviously we have abortion that is an issue for both sides of pro-life and pro-choice. But at the end of the day, and that's just one issue, how do you address that? What is a logical way to help minimize certain behaviors that we have? It may be we're very, very pro on birth control. And it could be we're very, very pro on school vouchers, where areas that schools aren't performing as well, the parents have the ability to move them to where they are. Because at the end of the day, every parent wants their children to have the best education. And in certain communities, that's not possible. And it's structured that they cannot do anything other than go through the system, which doesn't serve them, and they end up, unfortunately, graduating high school with something that's close to a 9th grade education, maybe a 10th, give or take. But it's still not what they need to, go out into society and, reach a level of success that, is part of the American way.
You've said that there's a good portion of American people that are suffering under this administration. What's the last thing you'd like to say to them?
I would want to say to you that you don't give up. Because if you give up and you lose your head, you neither live nor win. And you keep finding a way to be better, do better, and look for better. And look for what you need to do to change, to become the person you want to be. And I think, first of all, you need to define who are you, what do you want to do with your life, and how do you want to impact the people that you love around you. And I think love is a key component to what we all need in life. And just a simple gesture of, saying hello to somebody can make all the difference in the world to that person.
Great. Mr. Harley Ryder, it's truly been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Pamela, thank you so much. God bless America.